As we move into the holiday season, oh, isn't this what everyone's family is like? Just sitting around the Christmas table, laughing, getting along.
But, sorry, Jason, we all know that's just not the case with all families. So in today's Relationship Reboot, we're going to talk about what happens when someone is estranged from either one family member or perhaps even the entire family. So joining us now is Dr. Kirsten Seal to talk about this, because that can be really hard for the family, but also for the person who's been cut off.
Yes, yes, exactly. Well, actually, what tends to happen is the person who estranges themselves, they're the ones that are cutting themselves off from the family.
They
remove themselves, exactly. It is much more rare that a whole family, you know, that's like when you have sometimes in very traditional conservative religious communities like shunning and things like that. But more often it happens, it actually, what I see most in my practice are adult children that cut themselves off from their parents.
What are the reasons that you find? Are they varied, or do they tend to go in certain categories?
There's certain categories. I mean, one of the things that I find so heartbreaking about this is that you've got basically two people with two different perspectives, which is in any conversation or any disagreement. But what happens is it's often actually a long-standing thing. It can feel sudden to the person or the parent who's being cut off, but it's actually usually has been going on for some time. And the child, as they've grown older, maybe has tried to sort of explain their concerns to the parent. Sometimes the parent does or doesn't understand what it is that's going on. I think back to the times when I would say to my son in what I consider to be my firm adult voice, you know, something, and he would say, "Stop yelling at me." And I'd be like, "I'm not yelling, I'm using my firm adult voice." You know, but that's just like an analogy to say that things looked really different from where I was sitting versus where he was sitting.
So what do you do from both perspectives? From, let's say, if we're going to use the parent and the child as an example, from the parent and the child perspective.
Yeah, so what I try to do, you know, if I'm working with a family that is struggling with a cutoff, or it's sort of like a looming cutoff, is what I try to do is help the parent understand what the concerns of the child are, and to really sort of see that what they, again, how it felt for them is not necessarily how it felt for their child. And I think that it is within that dynamic that it's problematic, because parents often think that once their children are adults, that somehow the parent-child dynamic is not as much in play, and in some ways absolutely, but in some ways no. Like, the thing is, when you're a parent, you are still, like, my dad's 86 and I still care about if he is proud of me or likes what I do, you know?
Yeah.
So those roles are really, really powerful. And so if you've grown up, if there's one of the things that can happen is adult children can feel like their parents were overly critical, or maybe there was some sort of betrayal of some kind. And again, the parent is not necessarily aware of this.
Right.
Around the holidays, it's especially hard because often there are siblings and extended family, and maybe you want to cut yourself off from your parents, but you don't want to cut yourself off from your... How do you navigate those things?
Right. Well, so I mean, that's kind of really up to the individual, you know. But what I often recommend is, you know, if it is possible to sort of be within the family for a certain amount of time, like maybe you can only come to Thanksgiving for an hour or two, but just to come anyway and to try to do that. And yet, for some people, even that is just way too painful. So, and then it puts everybody in a difficult position, because the siblings are trying to figure out what to do about the relationship of their sibling to their mom or dad. It's a tough, heartbreaking thing. We recommend trying to see, I mean, that's what family therapists are trained for. Do you know? And you can often get beyond it, but it takes a lot of listening, and it takes time. And the last thing I'll say is I really recommend that parents give their children space to sort of figure out where they are, and then maybe you can come together and have some useful dialogue.
Kirsten, thank you.
Thank you.